Welcome. Let's just take this moment to recognize and kind of arrive into the recognition, inhabit the recognition that here we are here, and although the mind may be abstracting and plugged in throughout different other compelling localities in time space, this is where we've landed for the next little bit. And just take some breaths and recognize this, arrive, come into the very real, felt, tangible, direct experience of right here and right now. That alive spark. Let the tasks of the day just rest for now. If the body feels like it's heating up a little bit because of the energy of the group, that's a good thing. Just recognize here we are, the heart beating, the breath breathing, the felt sense of just being here. The mind and the attention and the body in the same room. Often I will speak about the heart, and that word obviously means different things to different people. All of our words that we use have so many connotations and meanings dependent on each of our experience and just what we're believing about it. But you know what I hear a lot, like in sessions and just from different conversations that I'm having, is, there's a sense sometimes, especially as we begin to unfold. Can you all hear me? Okay. Unfold in our awakening, that I can't bear this, there people will wake up to a certain extent, and then when the heart begins to unfold, it's kind of like maybe not. Might go there, might decide not to. A lot of the time, because of the physical sensation, the actual physical sensation sometimes of a awakening at the level of heart can be, very uncomfortable with. I know there's a few people on this phone call who can relate to what I'm saying with, the arrhythmias and irregularities, the tachycardia and all kinds of stuff, or just physical, actual chest pain. I mean, I've known quite a few people who have landed in the ER, and there's it's all fine. There's no pathology. It just actually, there's some physical stuff. Not always. It's not like it's required or you should be looking for it or need to have that reflection. I'm just saying it can be on the level of physical. But also, we are not very used to or conditioned to feeling our feelings directly. We believe something or think something about what we're feeling in order to kind of mediate the directness. And that's that, thought, belief, emotion, conditioned thought, belief, emotion cycle that is really indicative of the egoic process. It's kind of the foundation of it. Because just to actually directly, without conceptualizing or referencing, describing, naming, oppositionally coming into positionality with a feeling, we our nervous systems can get really overwhelmed with that kind of direct experience. And I mean, I've had people even who, when it was a what they might have called a glorious experience at retreat, or with the heart opening up, a sense of well-being and love that they knew they had really was their home and what they fundamentally are and everything. The next session that I have with them, it's like, that's going too fast. And, the heart's opening too quickly. And even when you land at home with what you've been looking for, we can still have a sense of not being able to embody it. And that can come across as like not being able to bear it. Because I think we know when we're at that precipice, everything that has been pushed aside, all the ways we've gone around, over, under, are no longer going to work, because we're going through, just directly through. And so there's this like sense of maybe pulling back in the psyche, in the body. And like I said, it can also just be totally uncomfortable physically, and also people will report there's just like a heaviness or a sense of like dread, or it could be anything. I don't want to label it too much, because then our minds get a hold of it and either say, well, that's not happening to me, or I don't want that to happen to me, or whatever. You know how minds work. I heard something one time, and I hope I'm going to do it justice. Thich Nhat Hanh is kind of our guardian angel saint for our morning meditations on Mondays and Fridays. And there's a group of us that have been aligning ourselves with his teachings on peace for the last couple of years. He describes it a little bit this way. We think that there's like a big rock of unhappiness and whatever we label as, maybe negative emotion, grief, all the stuff, rage, things we can't bear. We can't bear. Just the horror of relative reality as it's presenting in the hell realms, or whatever it is. And if we try to strap that rock to our backs and swim across the river of suffering, pain and suffering, we're going to sink into the river of pain and suffering. That's what we're going to do. But if we secure a boat, then we can carry hundreds of pounds of whatever that rock symbolizes for you. And the boat itself is the present moment. It's right here and right now, as Ajja says, the always and already. Gets a lot of hype, talked about a lot in spiritual circles and books, but are we inhabiting it? Are we inhabiting the present moment? Has the present moment become one's home, true nature, true self, you might say? Or are we still identified as a person, separate me, trying to swim their way through all the present moments as they rapidly come at us and overwhelm us? The thing about it is that there is only one boat, and that is the present moment, because there is nothing else. There is nothing else. We can't be somewhere else or something else other than the present moment at any point. And one can directly see this if we just take the moment to look at it. There is nothing happening outside of right here and right now. So we're in the boat. Because the metaphor starts to get kind of funny. We're actually in the boat. We're at home. But the sensation is one of having the rock strapped to our back, swimming for our very lives. And that sensation is born, it's born from separateness. It's born from a belief in separateness. And no matter how recognized, realized, remembered we are, we're here in a mind-body system right now. And so that tells us that there's more to be returned to love, to the boat, to the present moment. That we can actually begin to more and more and more and more sit down in, I mean, Thich Nhat Hanh used the word secure the vessel, you know. In other words, bring the attention very precisely and distinctly in any given moment to right here and right now. And what begins to happen, as I'm sure many of you know, is that the dynamic aspect of effortless, spontaneous, empty presence is love. Not a generated love, not a manufactured one, not a cultivated one, not a relational, coming, going, rewarded, given, taken, transactional love, not a transactional love, but an essential, fundamental one. That is the, I want to say face of God, existence, the spark of aliveness, the thunder of silence. And all the masters, those that we look to for guidance and grace have talk about, you know, the vigilance of staying in the boat, because the world, Dr. Hawkins used to call it endless entertainment. It's glamorous, endless entertainment. It's the, you know, as the world turns and the mind likes to tune in and see what's going on. Dr. Hawkins was a funny guy, but I like it. I mean, it's that glamorous stream of endless ups and downs and horrors and elations and all the rest. So to sort of give oneself away to the absolute unchangingness of the ineffable mystery, really, of the present moment, and just abide as that is a radical, it's a radical act. It's a radical decision, a radical devotion, because pretty much everything in the changing world, the relative world, is saying, look, 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 look here, look here, look here, you know, control this, repress this, don't feel that, this is too much, this is, you know, we're all going to die, whatever it is, I don't know. And then the mind makes of it what it will, and the person with the rock on their back trying to swim the river is down under. And maybe with good intentions of changing the world, but that's just becoming one with the stream of suffering. It doesn't change. Same as it ever was, same as it ever was, same as it ever was, same as it ever was. And I sense and I hear in the meetings and the sessions, I think there's a belief being held in the separation, the aspect of separateness that we call me, you know, the personhood. There's this belief being held that um, we have to, you know, have a position, a relationship, you know, a positional relationship to everything that comes along. We have to have a program, we have to be good, we have to respond in ways that, you know, do better and make things more. And I mean, relatively that, you know, that can be true. Relatively that can be true. But what I'm speaking about tonight is that the way that source moves when it is unimpeded by a conditioned sense of separateness. And that movement is love. It is harmony. It can say no, it can say yes, because, you know, if the person is presented with this option of like, you won't have any more preferences and no more choices, there's no doer, there's no chooser, there's no, and the person's going, you know, especially if you have a trauma background, that doesn't sit well. That doesn't sit well to a you know, a conditioned person hearing that. That's like, well, no, in relative life, I need to be able to say no. But the the reality of liberated wholeheartedness is it's free. Free to say yes, free to say no, free to say maybe, free to jump up and down and act strange in the supermarket. I mean, you know, whatever. Free. It's free. It's not like I think the personhood imagines it to be a person's idea of good or saintly or no, you know, this idea that it's all transcendent and you'll never have another preference again. And that imagined reality can feel like, I don't, I'm not opening my heart to that. I've been hurt. I mean, who hasn't? It's very hard to speak about in words and kind of give voice to the experience of the human heart that has all of its um, griefs, and because it loves, so it has grief because you risk it all when you love. It has all the stuff uh, that we are either grabbing for or pushing away, all that, you know, all that we've learned about, you know, pushing, aversion, attraction, aversion, attraction. But the boat, the heart of being, the heart of being itself, the heart of matter, the empty heart that is where it's empty so anything's possible. It's empty so it can see everything. when that is recognized as one's essence, one's fundamental home and true nature, then the humanity is so freed. It's loved. Let's put it that way. It's loved. There's room. There's room and space for its innocence and its ability to be courageous and to break and all the stuff. I don't know if any of you have read, I'm probably going to really not do well with his name. The Tibetan names are difficult for me, but Sokni Rinpoche's book, Open Mind, Open Heart, or Open Heart, Open Mind. I'm not sure which it is, but that guy is so down to earth. He has a stupa there in Crestone as well. And his opening to that book, he tells a story he calls The Bridge. So, he speaks about himself so humbly and endearingly, and he's talking about, here's this great Tibetan Rinpoche coming to visit this building somewhere in the States. I'm not sure where it is, but connecting the two buildings was a glass sky bridge. And he went to cross that from one building to the next, and his whole body had a massive trauma response, and he could not make himself step onto that bridge. He was convinced, his body was convinced, that he would fall through space, that it absolutely wasn't safe. And even though he could see people coming and going across the bridge and like nothing's happening, no tragedies are happening, he just couldn't do it. He couldn't overcome the fear that was racing and coursing through his body. And so his response was to become absolutely, totally, completely, thoroughly present to the moment and extend kindness towards what was ever happening. And in this way, he began to ask, like, what is this? And I'm right here. I can see this, I can see that, and yet I feel all of this. And a mantra came to his mind that was, it's real, but it's not true, which is very similar to like Byron Katie's acronym for fear, false evidence appearing as real, or fear, only fear, no danger, no danger, only fear. Just a spontaneous mantra. And he had these memories rush back in of climbing trees in his youth and his mother telling him over and over that he was going too high and that he was going to fall. And in that moment, he realized that had consolidated as an apparent actuality within his system, but it wasn't real. It wasn't real. But his message to all of us was that the compassion, the kindness in that moment was the solvent. It was the stepping stone. He didn't have the capacity, I don't think, he talks about it more thoroughly in the book, to, do like a big, I'm just going to open to everything. He couldn't. His system was like, no way. I couldn't even take a step onto the sky bridge that, he intellectually and conceptually knew was absolutely fine. So I guess what I'm trying to say, as I say a lot, is that at least here, other teachers have different ideas about this, and that's great if it doesn't fit you, but at least here, this direct experience is that tenderness, kindness, towards one's self and whatever is real, but maybe not true, is the way. It's the way. Because the more we try to go around, over, under, transcend, repress, oh, that's not real, it's just an illusion, conceptualize, reference, go into an intellectual knowingness, it just solidifies the pattern. And it doesn't move, it doesn't, it's not in line with the unfolding of a heartfelt, liberated responsiveness. It's just not in line. Even like, a very hard sort of truth inquiring, like question every thought, or, who is this I that cannot step onto the sky bridge or something like that? Maybe that would work in a certain moment if it came spontaneously and was like, but most of the time, a kindness, a kindness towards one's felt experience. It's okay to have, want to move past it or want something different. I mean, this Rinpoche wanted to get over to the next building. He wasn't saying, well, okay, you know, there was motive, but there was this kindness to what was real, an orientation of compassionate understanding. So again, I'm kind of back to that place where the Thich Nhat Hanh was talking about, where there is a belief within our collectiveness, I think, that, and maybe this isn't true for you, so that's okay too, but that all of the obstacles somehow need to be gotten rid of. I mean, here, just for a really real example, it's the tremor, you know? I walk this line between like just wanting it to go back to it was before the big explosion, and being rid of it and like all of that, and just here it is, having a more open, less positional, more whole response. But it can be big things, like with the world, with family members. I'm absolutely not trying to get political here, and I'm not in a certain position one way or another. I'm just, as an example, one of our Sangha members from Costa Rica who is Israeli, I spoke like 2 hours with her today, and it's so complex when you are devoted to seeing and living and inhabiting a heart, the vote, the present moment, the heart of being. One can't really toss any particular obstruction out. You're just in it. We're all in it together. There's no they, only us. And that includes our responses, like not being able to step onto the sky bridge. Sometimes life is very fierce in its teaching with illness or, I mean, all kinds of things, loss of um, partnerships and jobs, and I mean, all the stuff, loved ones. And some of us who have very deeply recognized, especially, let's say, at the level of mind, the transcendent no thing. It can be tempting to hang out there, but life is living heartfully all moments. As Adya says, emptiness dancing. It is dancing. It's dancing. All the things. And, you know, Trish and I were talking today, and I'm like, geez, what am I going to talk about? Yeah, what's going on for you? And we were just discussing a little bit, and I mean, isn't it what we all really, I mean, Sharon always says it. It's what you've always wanted, sweetheart. It's what you've always wanted. We've all heard her say it. It's what you've always wanted, sweetheart. When we're kind of going through the spin of like thinking that we have a decision whether to evolve in our awakening or not. uh, the heart will open. The heart the heart is never closed. We come into the remembering of what is living the life, animating existence, and that the way is through right here and right now, not what we're believing about right here and now. We can, as the Rinpoche is teaching us, we can acknowledge that it's real, but it's not true. These appearances are based mostly in belief, and that's the river of suffering. The heart's capacity is beyond. It's not of the same nature as belief in separateness. It's just not of the same nature. It's just beyond all of that. And the recognition, the remembering, and then the securing one's self in that boat is it's the transfiguration of the world. It changes the world, not through some program that we have deemed good as opposed to bad, but just by virtue of the true nature of beingness itself, as Trungpa says, the basic goodness. The basic goodness. That's why we get together. Come to satsang and feel each other's hearts and have company and teachers and teachings, and because the stream, the river is deep and wide, and it's just so heated up in every moment these days. contemplation, meditation, whatever we call that, going inward, eddying out. Our devotion, evoking the frequencies of the ascended masters and all the assistance that's out there, looking at each other, feeling each other, gathering